Today, you woke up with a strange feeling, as if something were in the right place, yet still asking for revision. This is no coincidence. The new moon in Virgo acts like a subtle mirror, showing what needs to be reorganized, quietly and without fanfare. There's a silent restlessness in the air, something urging you to bring order to the chaos, not only outside, but also within yourself. You may have felt an impulse to tidy your home, review commitments, or adjust forgotten details. All of this is a reflection of something deeper being called into your awareness. It's likely that in the past few hours you've felt an inexplicable desire to be more reserved, less available. Not because something is wrong, but because your personal field needs to breathe, without noise, in order to find clarity. Virgo is an earth sign, but it's also ruled by Mercury, and this crossing of forces activates not just logic, but strategic intuition. Maybe you've looked at your routines with new eyes. Maybe you've questioned whether the way you spend your time and energy still makes sense. These thoughts aren't just mental, they're signals. Right now, something is being planted inside you. And we're not talking about grand desires, but about subtle intentions, almost imperceptible, that hold great potential for practical transformation. The energy of this new moon invites discreet, yet powerful action. It's a phase of whispers, not shouts. You are being guided, even if you don't realize it, to rethink the way you organize your life, your emotions, your boundaries. Today's introspection has a purpose, and that purpose is to guide your next steps. That's why this video was made for you. Because something within already knows it's time to change, not through impulsive outbursts, but through conscious choices. Stay until the end. Here, we won't just talk about astrology, but translate the cosmic language into real, tangible movements. There's a synchronicity between your current need for silence and the quiet wisdom the universe is whispering now. You just need to listen to what is already speaking within you. The answer isn't far away. It's being activated right now. There is a silent movement taking place in your energetic field. Maybe you've felt an unexplainable fatigue or a sudden urge to step back and think. The new moon in Virgo tunes your sensitivity with an almost mathematical precision. It's not the kind of energy that shouts, but one that firmly whispers for you to look at the details of your life. What is out of place starts to bother you in an almost physical way. And it's not about control, but about alignment with what truly makes sense. The introspection that arises today doesn't come with weight. On the contrary, it brings relief. It's like organizing a drawer and realizing that it frees space in your mind. You begin to notice what you've unconsciously absorbed from others and what is genuinely yours. Thoughts that once seemed scattered now ask for shape, structure, and purpose. And there's something deeply healing in this, realizing that chaos is not a destination, but a starting point. There is power in consciously choosing what comes in and what stays out. This is an ideal day for simple yet meaningful rituals. A list, a bit of decluttering, or a quiet moment with pen and paper in hand. Virgo's energy amplifies clarity through conscious action. Don't expect major revelations. They will come through the details. It could be a phrase you overhear by chance, or a memory that resurfaces without explanation. Your field is sensitive, but not fragile. It is filtering. And everything in excess tends to leave if you allow it. You don't need to have all the answers today, but you can begin asking the right questions. Where have I been wasting energy? What can I simplify without losing depth? By asking yourself these questions, you activate a kind of practical intelligence that already lives within you. The new moon in Virgo doesn't promise miracles, but it does offer tools. And today, those tools are within your reach. Everything begins with the choice to listen to yourself with more honesty than usual. And that, in itself, is already the beginning of healing. You may feel an almost instinctive need to pause, not from exhaustion, but from an inner calling that invites discernment. The new moon in Virgo tunes your perception to both the real and the symbolic at the same time. The external world seems to demand less of you, while your inner voice begins to speak louder, though with serenity. There is an invitation to reorganize not only your routine, but also the emotions that have been scattered, stored away, or held without emotional purpose. Everything that has been postponed now asks for attention, not with urgency, but with wisdom. Today, your emotions may show up in subtle ways, a small irritation, or a desire to simplify tasks that once felt important. Mental overstimulation becomes tiring more quickly, and silence becomes an ally, even if you don't consciously seek it. This moon highlights what needs order to flourish, and that includes your thoughts. Sometimes what feels like a blockage is nothing more than accumulated, unprocessed energy waiting for space and form. Virgo doesn't demand perfection, though many believe it does. What this energy truly offers is clarity through structure. You may feel drawn to revisit conversations, commitments, promises made, even the way you think about yourself. Something within you begins to filter what serves and what distracts. This emotional sorting is not cold. It is loving, though firm. There's a kind of strength that emerges when you choose to look at what you feel without fearing the loss of control. Because in that gaze, you gain direction. On this day, the cosmos does not ask you to understand everything, but simply to be willing to adjust what you already know. And that is a powerful gesture. Reviewing beliefs, routines, ways of loving, and even how you work can open inner spaces that were suffocated by habit. This is not a time of grand restarts, but of small alignments that, together, build something solid. Today's introspection does not isolate you. It connects you with what is essential. And within that connection, a new way of existing within yourself is born. You may be feeling that the time has come to rethink certain choices that seemed right just a few days ago. The energy of the new moon in Virgo doesn't demand haste, but instead invites careful observation of what truly makes sense. There is a wisdom within you that knows how to recognize when something needs refinement, even if it appears to be working. The subtle discomfort you feel may simply be a reminder that unused potential is waiting to be realigned. It's not about changing everything, but about precisely adjusting what has drifted out of alignment. The first step may be as simple as allowing yourself to listen to that discomfort. If you've noticed a certain resistance to chaos, this is not random. This lunar phase often sharpens sensitivity to what is out of order, both in your external environment and in your thoughts. You may find yourself becoming more selective with your words or with the information you consume. And there's a reason. Your mind is seeking clarity, not distraction. Emotions accompany this process like a silent radar, pointing toward what needs attention and what can finally be released. You may notice this in small irritations or in the desire to restart something left unfinished. The practical introspection favored by this moment is not about withdrawal, but about construction. When you turn inward, it's not to hide, but to reorganize from within. Reviewing what you feel, without drama or exaggeration, is an act of healing and strength. Everyday life may now appear more symbolic. An object out of place, an unresolved conversation, a recurring thought. All of these carry clues about what needs repositioning. What once seemed insignificant now carries weight, and what was once noise becomes direction. It is within this fertile silence that the new begins to form, not as a sudden revelation, but as a continuous perception that grows as you clear your inner field. Today, perhaps without realizing it, you have already begun this process. By making space, by saying no to excess, by listening more before reacting, you are allowing the new moon to act as an invisible yet powerful turning point. And this kind of quiet transformation is almost always the most enduring. Today, you may feel a subtle urgency to organize something that isn't physical but internal. A persistent thought, a muffled emotion, a sense that some part of your routine is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. The new moon in Virgo sparks this quiet restlessness, as if something is asking to be reviewed, adjusted, redesigned with greater attention. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, you can sense that this moment doesn't allow for improvisation. Everything calls for precision. And while that may feel uncomfortable, it is also liberating. You may find yourself more sensitive to your own demands. Self-criticism may be more evident today, especially if you've been postponing conversations with yourself. It's not a good day to sabotage yourself with distractions. It's a day to honestly look at where your energy has been invested and whether that investment is bringing emotional returns. There is a desire for meaning, and the new moon brings the chance to quietly start again, with your feet on the ground and your gaze turned inward. Sometimes, realignment doesn't begin with major external changes, but with a silent decision, not to repeat what has already proven not to work. You may realize that certain thought patterns, once automatic, now feel worn out. And that's a sign your awareness is expanding. The practical introspection this lunation offers doesn't require isolation, but focus. Your inner silence doesn't need to be absolute, only sincere. Your mind wants to collaborate with your soul, but you need to create the environment for that conversation to happen. The strength of Virgo's energy lies in its attention to details that usually go unnoticed. Today, what seems small may contain the keys to major realignments. A memory, a conversation, a quiet decision. All of these may be the beginning of something more structured. Instead of seeking ready-made answers, perhaps the secret lies in asking the right questions. And the most important one right now may be, what am I cultivating within myself without realizing it? The answer may come in the next few hours, without noise, but with depth. Have you ever noticed that some days seem to carry an almost mathematical quality? As if the universe were trying to show you invisible patterns between your thoughts, habits, and feelings. Today is one of those days. The energy of the new moon in Virgo doesn't appear with dramatic intensity, but with quiet precision. There is something being aligned within you, perhaps an inner order wanting to emerge from the apparent confusion. And all it asks for is a closer look. This moment favors those who are willing to organize themselves from the inside out. There's a growing need to separate what truly serves you from what only takes up emotional space. You may feel a subtle restlessness, almost like a constant reminder that it's time to create structures that support your peace. Perhaps it comes through a recurring idea or a sense that something needs to shift. It's not about rushing, but about gaining clarity. The energy calls for decisions based on discernment, not impulse. Some old feelings may resurface today, not to hinder you, but so you can finally see them without masks. There are memories asking for new interpretation and pains that no longer make sense in light of who you are becoming. Instead of trying to control everything, this is the perfect time to refine. Allow yourself to look inward with the same care you would give to something precious and fragile. The process is intimate, but not solitary. You are being guided by a greater intelligence than you imagine. All of this may seem too subtle for those who seek immediate answers. But if you listen closely, you'll notice a serene strength asking for passage. It's this force that points to your next steps, not loudly, but steadily. Today isn't a day for dramatic upheavals, but for making small, intentional choices. Practical introspection isn't about isolating yourself from the world, but about finding yourself again within it, with more presence and less distraction. You are, at last, remembering what truly matters. Not every silence is absence. There are silences that speak more clearly than any explanation. Today, you may feel this upon waking, as if something within you were asking for space, not to justify itself, but to reorganize. There's a clean energy in the air, like an empty table ready to receive only the essential. And if you pay attention, you'll realize that the recent chaos wasn't in vain. It revealed what now needs your responsibility. There's an emotional need to put everything in its place. But that place begins within you. The new moon in Virgo brings a practical emotional intelligence that few notice right away. It's not about diving into the past, nor rushing toward the future. It's about asking objective questions to subjective feelings. You might wonder why you insist on certain patterns, why you avoid certain conversations, or postpone small tasks. The answers won't come as mystical revelations. They'll arrive as subtle, yet profound insights that reorganize your inner logic. Today, clarity itself may be your healing. There's a raw clarity hanging in the emotional field, revealing where you sabotage yourself without realizing it. Someone may say something simple that resonates as the truth you needed to hear weeks ago. Or perhaps you surprise yourself by admitting something you've been avoiding with rational arguments. The cosmos isn't demanding perfection, only coherence. The energy of this moment favors those willing to make small adjustments that lead to major transformations in due time. Everything begins with one first act of awareness. If today you feel the urge to tidy a drawer, make a list, or even clear out your inbox, don't underestimate it. These concrete actions reflect an inner desire for emotional order. The external serves the internal. This is the quiet magic of practical introspection. The new moon in Virgo doesn't shout, it whispers. And you already know this. The difference is that now you're ready to listen. Adjustments made with quiet self-love are worth more than any forced big decision. This moment is yours. Embrace it with presence. You may be feeling a nameless restlessness, as if something wants to align but doesn't yet know where to begin. This isn't random. The new moon in Virgo offers the rare combination of sensitivity and objectivity. It's a moment when your emotions begin to take structure, even if you can't yet describe them clearly. This vibration proposes a gentle pause to notice what has been ignored in the automatic flow of daily life. Your soul is asking for organization, not the kind imposed from the outside, but the kind that grows from within. And it all begins with the simple act of listening to yourself without judgment. There's a growing desire to simplify what has become too complex. And this isn't weakness, it's emotional intelligence expressed through practical action. The energy flowing between Moon and Earth today suggests reviewing promises, routines, even the words you've been using to define yourself. It may feel uncomfortable to realize that some of the stories you've told yourself no longer make sense. But it's also liberating to recognize you're not obligated to keep them alive. You can start again in a lighter, yet still consistent way. You may find yourself more critical of yourself today. Don't fight against it. Use this criticism as a lens of clarity, not punishment. There's a cosmic invitation to look firmly at what needs adjustment, without drama, without hurry. What has been stuck can often be resolved with one simple, practical decision that requires presence. This energy favors those who accept that introspection is a form of action, one of the most powerful. There is strength in the subtlety of noticing what has always been there. Now, more than ever, you can transform restlessness into direction. You don't need to make huge external changes. All it takes is an internal alignment, a new kind of intention. This is the kind of day that, if well used, becomes a quiet turning point. Intuition is sharper, but it only reveals itself to those who silence the noise of self-demand. Trust, this cosmic movement is a discreet push toward your own practical truth. Don't ignore it. There's too much wisdom being whispered in this very moment. Everything you've felt in the past few hours wasn't random, it was a response. The energy of this new moon in Virgo doesn't call for noise or haste. It asks for presence, focus, and the humility to gently look within. When you allow silence to bring the right questions, you don't need as many answers. You simply know what is already ready to be done. Sometimes, all it takes is stopping the escape from yourself to see the next step clearly. There's a dance between discipline and sensitivity happening now. You don't need to choose one over the other. You can cultivate habits that respect your sensitivity, routines that nurture your heart, and goals that make sense for who you are today. Allow yourself to redefine priorities without guilt. If it no longer resonates, you don't need to continue. The universe doesn't punish those who change direction upon realizing they've grown. It welcomes them. Notice whether what you call self-demand isn't simply fear disguised as responsibility. There's a kind of quiet courage in admitting that what brought you here may no longer take you further. This lunar phase activates exactly that gentle clarity, a firmness that doesn't need force. When you respect yourself in the details, the external world responds in sync. That's the portal opening today, the coherence between what you feel and what you build. If you've made it this far, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel to receive more videos. Also, leave your comment. It means a lot to us. See you in the next lunar phase.